Have Jacinda Ardern's millions of social media followers gone? Is this the opposition's chance to dominate online discourse? And to guide us through this particular political landscape, I am joined by digital editor Finn Hogan. Welcome, Finn. How is our new PM comparing to our old one online?
Yeah, so unsurprisingly, Christopher Hipkins isn't quite that sort of like supernova of social media engagement that Jacinda Ardern was. If we look at the top 10 overall engagement on Facebook, Winston Peters has actually taken the top spot, followed by David Seymour. Maureen Pugh slides in there at third, but she's probably not celebrating that considering some of the climate commentary that helped her get that spot. Then you've got the battling Christophers in at fourth and fifth, and then way down at number 10 is former PM Jacinda Ardern. Never thought I'd see that day. But yeah, so a lot less of a Labour-heavy top 10 than we've seen recently.
So interesting, but Chris Hipkins has had a few memorable moments on social media, hasn't he?
Yes, exactly. And the meme-ability of Chris Hipkins might sound like a really trite point, but I do think there is something serious there, because I think a great example would be just after he took the top job and he was snapped with, in his trackies and his sunnies, and there was this explosion of memes around that. Like new PM's first move is to bring back 12% Cody's, all of that. Objectively funny, for one. But B, I think it speaks to this thing that Hipkins has, which is he's really deft at walking that line between being the butt of the joke in some sense, being laughed at, without it actually really seriously affecting his credibility, and that's a really tricky line to walk. And it gets to that kind of relatability advantage he's so far had over Luxon. There's also a practical concern there, where if I was trying to buy the kind of reach that those memes got on Meta advertising, it would cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But he just got it all for free, and it's fundamentally positive coverage. So the Minister of Memes things, so far working out.
Yeah, it reminds me too of the spreading the legs incident. Exactly. It's an election year. Does that mean that we are seeing an uptick in online spending by the parties already?
Yeah, totally. So overall, the trend line is always towards more money being spent on social media advertising. Even in the past 90 days, which is typically a pretty chill time in terms of electioneering, we've seen ACT drop about $90,000 on Meta advertising. Labour roughly half that on 55, National roughly half that again on 25. Greens not spending much, around 3,000. But for a relatively quiet time, far up from the election, it's a large amount of money. And it just goes to show this thing that on social media, we're always electioneering. The election is always on. It's 365 days a year, 24/7, which is great for shows like us. It keeps me in a job, but might be exhausting for the average social media hunter.
I was going to say exhausting, but is it doing the job of driving people to their pages where the policy happens, for example?
Yeah, so that's interesting. So if we look at, though, the engagement of the party pages, ACT, despite spending the most money, are actually fifth in recent times, which is a bit not exactly bang for buck for that kind of money. And the party that's getting the most engagement by far is actually the Outdoor and Freedoms Party. Now, there's a caveat there. They're posting about 4 times as much on average as other parties do. So clearly they'd get a bump from that. But it does go to show that that kind of anti-government, anti-mandate sentiment, which we thought might disperse, has sort of coalesced there and isn't really going away yet.
That's galvanising. Well, onto a different social media platform. TikTok has been back in the headlines recently.
Yes, it has. And TikTok's really fascinating because it's simultaneously pretty much the most popular social media platform on the planet among users and the least popular among governments. So the US has banned it on all federal devices. Canada has done the same. We're seeing many jurisdictions move in this direction. India has a nationwide ban. Now here we don't have that kind of government-wide ban. Certain agencies have a ban. There is a strong directive from parliamentary services for MPs to not use it, but no total ban that way. That would require an update by the GCSB to the intelligence manual. We're not seeing that. But with these trend lines, I don't know, maybe we could see more moves in that direction.
Yeah, it could be in the post because the fears are over TikTok's parent company and its data, the data that it's collecting.
Yes, so the parent company of TikTok is called ByteDance. It's a Chinese company, therefore has ties to the CCP. Now, in fairness to TikTok, they all say that user data is completely siloed. It would only ever be accessed in the most extraordinary circumstances. A more sceptical critic might say that there is essentially no such thing as a private company in China, and if the CCP wanted to access user data, including, the over 1 million Kiwis that use TikTok, they could do that if they so wished. So I think the only thing we know for certain is that as these geopolitical tensions ramp up, these TikTok bans are going to be these sort of early shots across the bow. This could be some early flashpoints. We keep hearing new Cold War bandied around by hawks, but if we are entering a new Cold War, those early battle lines could be drawn on TikTok.
Let's take a look at TikTok. Thank you so much for joining us.